It's time for your daily dose of all things Chicago sports. This is the Daily Score. Now, here's your host, Mark Grote.
It's quite a follow-up out here at Halas Hall today after yesterday being a massive news day in Lake Forest with the news of Alan Williams, the defensive coordinator, resigning as the DC of the team. You had the comments that Justin Fields made that some thought that his sole purpose was to criticize the coaching staff. So there was that. There was your left tackle going on injured reserve in Braxton Jones, Nathan Peterman getting cut and then coming back to the team. So there was all that yesterday. And then here we are today for the follow-up and the cleanup and the texture of the stories, hopefully. And we did get some because our day started with the information that the general manager of the Chicago Bears, Ryan Poles, would talk just because of all that was going on. And we'll get into him here in just a second. But you also had the players talking. You had assistants, coaches talking today as well. So we'll get into it all. But I actually want to start with the Alan Williams angle to this. Alan Williams, the defensive coordinator of the Bears, resigning under somewhat mysterious circumstances. And he resigns after 2 games, and he cited health and family reasons. But it sure feels like for so many reasons that there is more to the story. Maybe not some of the outlandish stuff that you may or may not have read, and some of the stuff that I was consuming and some of the stuff that I was told that unfortunately I can't share because it would be criminal on my part to do that, to add to the party, because there is some of this stuff that is preposterous. So you have to keep that all in mind, but something's going on here. We'll start with the general manager of the Chicago Bears, Ryan Poles, on Alan Williams and everything that he would like to tell us about it.
In terms of Alan, I don't have many details to add there. We try to work in truth, and I know there's a ton of misinformation out there yesterday. We talked about like Halas Hall being raided. That was completely false. Don't even know where that came from. Worked with Kevin and George, all of our leadership, to make sure we were handling it the right way, communicating properly, and then obviously everything concluded yesterday. But we have a ton of confidence in our plan moving forward.
Ryan, what timeline can you give us? Respecting that there are some details you cannot give us about Alan Williams. What timeline can you give us in terms of when you became aware there was an issue, when he stepped away, leading through his resignation yesterday?
Yeah, I can't give many details there, but when he was in that practice, I think that was addressed to yesterday. That's the timeline.
Last question.
What about hiring a DC, or will Matt continue to call class?
Thanks, Ryan. Brad.
Yeah, so that's interesting right there. Ryan Poles being careful and not saying too much about Alan Williams, but the only thing that he was adamant about is that some of the wild rumors, again, that you may have read or heard were not true. Relative to what else is going on, I have no idea. And I don't have anything factual about there being more to this story. But like I said, there's a hunch that one can get based on some of the breadcrumbs that exist. And here's another thing too. Players and assistants, coaches that we talked to today were very careful about how they answered questions about Alan Williams. And one overriding theme was that there was no real empathy towards Alan Williams or sympathy towards Alan Williams. And that was apparent in the Bears press release, where they didn't mention anything about his time here and that they support him in his time of need and all of that. Like, there was none of that, and none of the players were going over the top in terms of the way they talked about Alan Williams. For example, let me play you one example here, and that is Jalen Johnson. And the first thing that Jalen Johnson was asked was, oh, man, you guys don't have a defensive coordinator now. What's going on?
I think Flus is our D coordinator, I'd say. So, I mean, it's been good. He did a good job last year coming in, getting our minds right, getting us prepared for the task at hand. It's no different this week.
Jalen, I'm sure you built up a relationship with Alan Williams in his 2 years here. So what do you make of him leaving and not having that coach and maybe that friend here anymore?
I don't make anything of it. I mean, I'm just doing my job. My job is coming here and play football, play high-level football, turn the ball over, make plays, lead this team, lead the defense. So that's what I'm focused on.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Johnson right there. I mean, he thinks nothing of it. Nothing. I mean, and he didn't stumble either. Like, that felt like it was easy for him to say that. Now, it makes me think a couple things. Again, I'm sticking with, I feel like there's more to this story. And I think Jalen Johnson kind of took it in that general direction there. But it also just makes you wonder how respected of a coach he was even before whatever happened. Just if it's this easy for guys to toe the company line, say what Jalen Johnson said, if it's that easy and that's the way it's felt and there's no real strong bonds on this team, it sounds like he was not a big voice for this defense anyway. And that, is it fair to surmise that Matt Eberflus was essentially running the defense? And I believe that Al Williams is calling the plays, but, it's his area of expertise. That's what head coaches do when they come in, whether they're offense or defense, and then they gravitate towards that and have a huge print in what goes on. So, yeah, it did make me wonder about that. So we'll leave the Alan Williams stuff at that, and I'll let you know if there's more to the story coming up. Another big deal yesterday was Justin Fields and him mentioning the coaching staff as part of why maybe he's been a little bit too robotic and that he's in his own head and he doesn't feel like he's playing freely. He did mention coaching as part of that. He said maybe coaching, and they did add a whole lot more in that same quote and cited himself. And, there's a lot to it, but that was mentioned. So that got out there, and Justin Fields had to clarify and all that. And Ryan Poles clarified as well.
Can't be more clear than this. No one in our entire building, none of our coaches, see Justin as a finger pointer at all. He has always taken ownership of anything that's happened on the field. He takes it head on. He works. He grinds. He puts his head down. He works with his teammates, works with his coaches to find solutions. Everyone's trying to figure out what's going on. In my opinion, you got a young quarterback trying to figure it out. You have a guy who hasn't had the cleanest start of his career, who last year, with the roster, had to put the team on the back, do some unbelievable things athletically. Now he gets talent around him and has to figure out and balance when to do those cool things athletically, when to lean on others, and that is sometimes a great place to live in, and that takes time. That takes time on task for him to take that next step, and everyone's on board helping him get into that place for him to be successful.
Yeah, I pretty much buy what Ryan Poles is saying right there, that I believe that there actually is a strong relationship with coach and player. I mean, Justin Fields would not have spoken twice yesterday if he didn't have some real affection towards his offensive coordinator, Luke Getsy. I mean, that would not have happened. Ryan Poles would not have made a point of that in his preamble to our short Q&A. It was something that he wanted to make clear. And I realize that sometimes that's a product of, you don't want to show the organization breaking down. That wouldn't look good on Ryan Poles if all of a sudden coaches and coordinators and quarterbacks weren't getting along. But there seems to be, their follow-up, I'll give a thumbs up to, in terms of the Bears making it clear that coaches and quarterback are okay. That maybe there is some disagreement, that the offense is not okay, but that it isn't because of some sort of strained relationship with Justin Fields and Luke Getsy. And sometimes, as a reporter, you have to make up your mind whether or not you want to believe what you're being told. This is one of those times where I believe what we are being told. And we'll finish it out, too, before I get you a couple other notes outside of all of this. Luke Getsy, the offensive coordinator, he took a stab at answering the question of, why has Justin Fields, why has he been so angsty in terms of his comfort and all the things he was saying about being statuesque and a robotic and all that he was saying yesterday. Here's Luke Getsy on the whys there.
Flus talks about the 4 to 6 plays a game that could change the game each week. And I think there's that, those are moments where when he feels like, when we reflect on it, the next day as we're reviewing the film, that he feels like, I could be that difference. And I think that's what he's reflecting on in those moments when he's talking like that. And I think that's our job to give him those opportunities to do it well and make him feel like he's comfortable in doing that. And I think he's starting to get more comfortable with the guys he's playing with, right? New group of guys, and he's starting to do a much better job with that as well.
How do you balance giving him enough information, too much information, not enough? Like when he's talking about almost feeling like it's information overload in games and he has to kind of process some of that out, how do you as a coach know when to dial back versus when to, like, he needs to know this to complete this play?
No, I think more of what he's reflecting on is just the process of the game. So when you play a guy like Coach Bowles, who's going to present a lot of different things, there's a lot of different procedures that you have to handle, pre-snap before you get to go play the play. And that's where he's done a fabulous job. Like from this point from last year to now, like he handles that pre-snap stuff so well. And then you take it from that point on and go play the play. I think that comes from playing. That comes from the experience. I think it's the job of the coach to give them the information, let them absorb it, and then go out and practice it and try it and do it in each week. And I think each week he handles it much better each and every week since the time that we've got here.
That's the way it works. And by the way, just one other little nugget to close out the portion, the recap portion from yesterday, the part 2, if you will. On the practice field today, Luke Getsy and Justin Fields made a point of hugging for the cameras, shamelessly, and they were having fun with it. So that was good. A few other things. I saw Tevin Jenkins in the locker room, and he's out of that walking boot. Looks good. Looks ready, man. He's still a couple weeks away, though, probably, at least. But it was good to see that. Last time I saw Tevin Jenkins, he could not have been limping worse. Eddie Jackson, Nate Davis, Mercedes Lewis all missed practice today, while Darnell Mooney was limited. Lucas Patrick returned in full. And then back to examples of there not being much sympathy or empathy going towards Alan Williams. One more thing, Dave Borgonzi, the Bears linebackers coach, was asked, have there been well wishes to Alan Williams, or do you have a message for Alan Williams? And Borgonzi said, quote, like I said, really, the focus is on the Chiefs, close quote. So that's perfect for the way this has been responded to by the organization, seemingly. So thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We appreciate it. Hope you have a great day. And I'll be talking to you tomorrow. For Ray Diaz, I'm Mark Grote.